Hello, and welcome to Instant Insights, Global Data's strategic intelligence podcast. At Global Data Strategic Intelligence, we track over 100 tech, industry, ESG, and macro themes, impacting all major sectors. My name is Eugenia Perozo, and I'm speaking to you from the SelectUSA Investment Summit in Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. This is the country's annual foreign direct investment conference, where the federal government, states, and cities all make their case to delegations from all around the world as to why they should invest in the U.S. However, this year's event has taken on a renewed importance because it comes against the backdrop of this sweeping tariffs agenda being pursued by the Trump administration. Foreign investors and local importers are frozen in place, not knowing how to plan ahead, and the entire system can be upended overnight. Despite the turmoil that has derived from the U.S.'s new approach to trade, Kevin Hassett, Trump's newly appointed director of the National Economic Council, opened the summit by explaining why he believes the U.S. is still the best country in the world to invest in.
Thank you all for coming. It's so wonderful to be here and to see so many people interested in investing in America. There's never been a better time to invest in America, and President Trump suggested why. The bottom line is that if there's a country that is going to make it impossible for you to build a new factory or build a new building or make a pipeline, then that's a country that you're going to be reluctant to invest in. But if there's a country that has a federal government that is 100% committed to making sure that you're not abused with old regulations, not straitjacketed with new regulations, a country that is about to have the most friendly tax climate on earth, then that's a country that you should invest in.
Despite the benefits of investing in the U.S. outlined by Hassett, and that Trump claims that his tariff agenda is partly aimed at onshoring industries, Ed Brzytwa, Staff VP for International Trade at the Consumer Technology Association, explained that tariffs can also be problematic for U.S. businesses.
There is a great desire by companies to invest in the United States. But in order to do that, they need predictability and certainty on what the trading environment looks like, not just today, but in the future, both short-term, mid-term, and long-term. The current tariff policy, it's much more of a tariff policy than it is a trade policy, does not create that necessary certainty and predictability. As a matter of fact, it leaves companies guessing as to how they can position themselves for success. So if you're a company, whether you're a U.S. company or you're a company outside the United States, and you think, well, I might like to invest in the United States, but I need access to affordable inputs to make my product here, the tariff is not your friend. Tariffs, by their very nature, are taxes on imports into the United States. The importer of record pays that tariff to the U.S. government. So if the tariff rate is effectively, let's say, 50%, that doesn't really look good from a business standpoint. That's a high cost.
Indeed, Republican Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt noted that U.S. businesses are already feeling the impact of tariffs.
You know, I don't think I wouldn't say there's a lot of pain. Obviously, it depends on, what industry you're in. I mean, it's affecting everyone. Some of our aviation companies have told me that they're at a little bit of a disadvantage. Hopefully, some of our wheat farmers and our soybeans and our cotton guys, we obviously want this to be over. We want a fair trade, and I think Trump's working on all that.
Some at the conference even said that the tariffs themselves aren't the biggest problem. The uncertainty is. It leaves businesses and governments in a position where they can't plan ahead.
My name is Yvonne Bendinger-Rothschild. I'm the Executive Director of the European American Chamber of Commerce in New York. And what do? We connect Europeans with Americans. We help Europeans do business in the U.S. and Americans do business in Europe. the problem is more the uncertainty than the tariff itself. I mean, a tariff is a tax, and nobody likes to have a tax all of a sudden put onto them or onto their trade. But I think the problem is that we're constantly going back and forth on it. You know, I mean, if we say there's going to be a 10% tariff, then people can plan with it and do something and make forecasts. I mean, if you think about it, that we have earning reports that don't have a forecast in them, I mean, that turns every economist's stomach.
The ramifications of such uncertainty are already playing out in California, the world's fourth largest economy. Broome, the president and CEO of the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, explains.
California is a big international market, so about 40% of our business activity comes from international markets. 60% are domestic. So this year we're down about 26% over last year. So I think anytime you see uncertainty, people put the brakes on complicated projects. But I think with this morning's news, we're going to avoid a major trade war. I think that's exciting news for us, and I think we're going to end up having a really good year. But obviously, we want the president to be successful, but hopefully at doing successful things, and getting some leverage in a trade negotiation is really meaningful. But if you look at South Korean trade with the U.S. post-free trade agreement, South Korea's economy has boomed, and they're heavy investors in Sacramento. So free markets work. I do think China, probably needs to be checked a little bit, but I hope what comes out of this for China and the U.S. and everybody's, we need each other. Operating in separate, independent ways isn't a very good approach to a global economy.
Many delegates thought that the level of interdependence of the global economy also makes tariff standoffs fundamentally unsustainable.
I think the U.S. will also realize, what I just said, that the Europeans are their biggest trading partners on so many levels. We have the same standards, we work on the same products together. Most products cross either Mexico or the Canadian border or come back and forth from Europe to the U.S. multiple times. So I think there will be at one point a realization that we need to work with one another. In the meantime, we are dealing with these tactics to influence the market or show who's boss. But it can't last. The thing is, you don't start trade negotiations with 192 countries at the same time. If you want to negotiate trade, you take every country or you take a region, and then you have an agreement. You negotiate agreement. Like Canada with Europe, Europe with Mercosur. It's an individual conversation. You don't throw this out as a group. So I think that the U.S. will come to a realization that it makes more sense to do this in a more concerted, organized way than they've been doing.
But, China needs the United States. And if you look at the United States long term, we need them. We need the goods and service exchange between China, and we need Canada and Mexico and the U.S. to be a single market, and we need trade relationships with Europeans. And so, we do a lot better when we're all working together, and I think people are going to realize that. I think there's a remarkable level of optimism in the U.S. that just continues to surface, and an impatience towards failure and mediocrity. And I think no matter what happens, it's like these tariffs. At the end of the day, the U.S. wants to do business. We want affordable goods. We want job opportunities. We're meritocracy, and we're not going to be very patient in seeing ourselves in any other way.
This American optimism was very visible when it came to what top leaders were saying about the development of AI. Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy was confident that the AI revolution will drive huge efficiency gains that will benefit workers and industry.
AI is radically changing everything.
It's causing businesses to become more efficient, which is good. And which is interesting in a demographic leveling out and decline here in the United States and across the world, AI couldn't have come at a better time in order for businesses to be able to take the next leap forward. Alaska is generally, unlike some of the other states that these governors represent, we're basically a resource state. We're a logistics state. And for us, our oil and gas industries are huge, our mining industries are huge, our fishing industries are huge. And those industries are capitalizing on AI for a whole host of reasons and methods. I know in the oil industry, it's making drilling a lot more efficient. It's looking at seismic in a different manner. And so these efficiencies are going to result in better approaches, better products, better services.
Top tech industry leaders, such as Rene Haas, the CEO of semiconductor giant ARM Holdings, also felt that the U.S. was the place to be when it came to developing AI.
There's a lot written, in the press I see about the AI race and having to win the AI race, and I do hearken this a bit to an infinite game type of race. I don't think there is a race to be won here. I think AI innovation will never stop. It's a generational type of thing. The United States is clearly leading today. But it's also well documented, quite frankly, that China is rapidly advancing. They have a fantastic access to capital, ecosystem, and power. But today, the U.S. is the leader. I think today, the president is in the Middle East. Some of the leaders there are Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, Sam Altman from OpenAI. I will probably be a part of that visit in a few days. All kind of U.S. brain power. So we lead today, but we need to keep our foot on the gas pedal because it's a long, infinite race.
Governors and federal leaders in particular pushed hard on AI adoption, but they didn't really address the elephant in the room, as one moderator eventually called it. It is incredibly hard to plan ahead with this much tariff uncertainty. Despite some major investment announcements, such as a defense firm investing $300 million in Oklahoma, or India's top solar panel maker committing to a $200 million expansion in the US, most people I spoke to said the majority of foreign companies are waiting to make big decisions. One person I interviewed pointed out that AI development will also be slowed down by tariff uncertainty. If firms can't predict the prices of primary materials needed to build factories and chips, how are they expected to commit billions of dollars? At a local level, there was a big willingness to help. States like New Mexico and California are making use of their free trade zones to circumvent some of the disruption. I heard many mentions of American optimism and tenacity. If that'll be enough to help them ride out this wave of uncertainty, however long it lasts, remains to be seen. Thank you to everyone who took the time to speak with me, and thanks to you for listening. Until next time. This has been Instant Insights.